EAGLES. Eagles.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome into a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. Some news coming on in Eagle World. We'll get into that today. We have a great 2-hour show planned for everybody as we prep for week number 12 in the NFL. Johnny Mac, can you believe it, man? November
Week 12,
21st,
man. Woo.
November 21st or week 12 in the NFL. We're week 13 in college football. I mean, holy crap. Football comes and goes. So enjoy it, everybody. Let's enjoy these last couple of weeks. Or 6 or 7 week period, and then the playoffs together. Looking forward to it. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Thursday morning?
Doing well. A little bit, jumps up. I don't think we have a fall anymore. It goes straight from warm to cold, no in between. But
yeah, I got to be honest.
Early feels November, a little bit like football weather, at least.
Now it does for sure. Early November was a little too warm for me. It's like once it turns to cold, I'm good with it being cold. I do like the heat guy. I'm a heat guy, but
of course, the Eagles are going out to Los Angeles, so they're going to be fine when it comes to weather.
They're going to be warm. They're going to be warm. Well, a lot of news, John, in Eagle Land in terms of the injury report. Britton Covey gets activated. Bryce Huff gets injured. What did you learn yesterday, John? Milton Williams was a little banged up. A lot of stuff on the injury report yesterday. You were down there at the NovaCare complex. What did you learn yesterday, Wednesday, at the NovaCare, John?
Yeah, well, the Hop stuff came out. I mean, we knew he's hurt. He's playing with a cast on his wrist, but he was trying to play through that. And evidently, the Eagles kind of decided best path forward would be to get a surgery now and hopefully get him back by the end of the season with more functionality, as it was described to me. So, you remember a couple weeks ago that Big Fangio said he couldn't even essentially use his hand when it came to certain things. So, that affects everything, basically. As a defensive lineman, handwork is very important. So he played, I think, 12 and 14 reps. And they decided to go the route they decided. Not a ton of depth at that particular position. And that's probably the other surprise was that, well, next man up in theory in the rotation would be Jalyx Hunt. And I think people would be excited to see him because they haven't seen him really. And we'll see how it shakes out. But he's hurt with dealing with an ankle, and he was out there working on a side field. But that's a concern because now all of a sudden, you have Josh Sweat, you have Brandon Graham, you have Nolan Smith, and that fourth, if Jalyx Hunt can't go, all of a sudden becomes, well, you got to either elevate Teron Jackson from the practice squad who's back, and he's played a little bit over the years. And they also have a young edge rusher by the name of David Ania, who hasn't really played at all in the NFL to this point. So you can see how light things are there. Milton, you mentioned, I saw him at the end of locker room yesterday. Just told me, see you Sunday, which I will not see him, but you get his point from the standpoint of his foot injury. It clearly was limping, left the Commanders game. But I saw him after the Commanders game. I mean, look, I wouldn't say see you Sundays. A guarantee he's going to play. I know a lot of people say that, but players tend to be that way, and they want to fight through things. So something to keep an eye on. And the same thing with Devonta Smith. This has been going on for 3 weeks. Evidently, people didn't realize that. He's been on the injury report. He's missed practice Wednesday. They tend to manage him through the week to get him to game day. So today's going to be very important. The only reason I put an asterisk there is he was limping pretty good coming off the field against Washington.
Right. And he was nowhere to be seen yesterday, or was he on a side field?
No, he was nowhere to be seen. And that's another thing. Typically, in previous Wednesdays, he was on the field, just not practicing. He wasn't on the field. So that one's a little bit more of a concern just because how he came out of the Washington game, and then Jalen Hurts later was limited with his ankle injury, and that's more of a management type situation during the week. Same thing with N'Kobe Dean and his groin. And you mentioned Britton Covey. He's not active. They started his practice window, so they have 21 days to make a decision on Britton from yesterday. And I do think eventually, when they deem he's ready, just because of Cooper's value to the defense, I think they'd rather take that punt return role off his plate.
Yeah, you don't want
just
him
let him
getting hurt
focus on
doing that.
defense.
Yeah, you don't want him going. You don't want him getting hurt doing that. A couple comments on each of those before I do that. I want to welcome everybody in today. Devin Daz, Twiz, Brian Fleming, Chan's in here. Mike Fittery's in here. Eduardo Reza, good to see you, my brother. Kenny P, I'm helping. Good to see everybody in the chat this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button. Dank Bird Gang, good to see you, brother. Hit that like button, everybody, for us. Let's set a record. The first 10 minutes are the most important, so smash that like button here early in the show and help us reach more Eagle fans. John, it sounds like, with the Milton stuff, yeah, you're getting to the point of the year, right, where a lot of people are going to be limping around. With the Devonta stuff, I wonder, should they have handled this a little differently? I mean, now you have him limping for 3 straight weeks. He's kind of nursing this injury. Hasn't quite been as productive in the last 3 weeks as some of his better weeks of the year. Should they have maybe sidelined him and let him get this thing back to 100 before you get into now you're in the stretch run, though. So they're probably not going to do that now. But do you think that was a mismanagement with Devonta Smith?
Yeah, hamstrings, I don't have that information. Hamstring strains are not the same. So I know a lot of people say, well,
right.
AJ missed 3 games with a hamstring and Dallas missed 3 games. Why are they playing Devonta? Well, they're not all the same. There's different grades, and there's obviously those were more serious. So, that Jordan Mailata is being the most serious, where he described it as like being shot.
Yeah, he probably did. He tear his or
no, but
no, just a strain. Yeah.
So, well, part of that is a little bit, but not at full what people would describe as hamstring tears. So, I mean, in theory, it's a slight tear, any hamstring. So, depends on your definition, but yeah, there's different grades, and obviously his wasn't as serious, and he is a tough guy, and he tried to fight through it, and maybe he's back out there today. Maybe he just didn't, feel like being out. Maybe he left after we left. We're only out
I'm just wondering. It was a Thursday night game. Here we are a week later, 6 days later on a Wednesday practice, and he wasn't even showing his face. So, and he was limping hard.
And again,
one of those things you can tweak and just keep tweaking it. I had one. I used to deal with it in hockey when I was a goalie. I mean, you always had to stretch out your legs for groin and hamstrings.
Yeah, and he was certainly doing that, managing himself during the week. And I wouldn't be, if he's not out there today, I'd be very concerned. And I would say it's probably going to be, he's the type of player where they will show deference to it. If he shows up on Friday, he'll still play, but it becomes more of a concern if he's not out there today. If he's out there today, it's no concern whatsoever, to be honest. That means he's getting through it. And again, because he was limping after the game in Washington, just because there's video, Tim got video of him. Tim McManus got video of him getting off the field, and he was, limping pretty significantly. But, he wasn't limping yesterday. I didn't see him. So, I can't tell you where he is.
Right.
But the correlation between AJ missing 3 games, Dallas, all hamstrings are not the same. And if he had that type of hamstring injury, they would not have played him. So, but obviously there's going to be hindsight. If he does, if he's out there playing, then hurts it worse. Yeah, they're going to get questions over the handling of that. No doubt.
Kind of a definitely a tough scenario there. I know you don't know this, and you'll learn more today and tomorrow with the practice report and the injury report, but any gut feeling on whether Devonta Smith will play this weekend? You think that's up in the air as a question, or do you think he'll play most likely?
No, I think it's a question now. again, the 2 weeks prior, I didn't have any question, um, when he was out there, on Wednesday in either not practicing or being limited. It was clear they were trying to manage him. It's a little bit different because he wasn't in practice yesterday. Um, so it's a little bit different, a little bit more concerning, as I said. So knowing Devonta, like I said, if he's able to do something by Friday, he'll try to play. But now, whereas the prior 2 weeks was 95% certain he was going to play. This week, yeah, I'm much more uncertain going into today, Thursday. This will tell. This day will tell a lot, whether it's just management or he's dealing with something more serious. But like Milton, as I said, I'll see you Sunday. Jalyx too. We have to see where he is today. That could be a management situation. Nick talked about this yesterday because we're asking him. I asked him actually about the added reps that the Bryce Huff injury is going to cause to Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham, because Josh was playing great last year, playing too many reps
Right.
and faltered down the stretch. Brandon's 36 years old. And he said, that stuff's for the week. You manage people during the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's very well they're managing Jalyx, Devonta Smith, Milton Williams.
Right.
But, got to wait and see. Nakobe Dean, Jalen Hurts, they're going to play. That's an obvious management situation. Right. Not as obvious with the other guys.
What's going on, John, with the Bryce Huff stuff? Because, just thinking about it in my head, and I might be way off base, and that's fine. You can tell me if I am. But I look at this, and I'm like, what's up with the timeline of this? I get it. He was nursing the hand or the wrist, whatever it is, that he's having a hard time. He's playing with the cast, obviously. It's been well noted, especially on this show, of what he's been going through. Now we're a week. Everybody put out the report yesterday. He's getting surgery today, I believe, right? This Thursday.
Yeah, today.
And the game was a week ago. Like what happened with one? They decided to not get the surgery before the game. Okay, fine. They tried to say he was going to play through it. Then he plays through it, realizes it's not going to be good, and now we're a week later and he's getting a surgery. Like, wouldn't this be a time thing where they're trying to get him surgery quick, kind of get him back on the road to recovery as quick as possible? I mean, how long is he going to be out? Rest of the regular season, playoffs, rest of the year? What's it look like right now?
Yeah, undetermined. This is their best path. They feel is their best path to get him back by the end of the season. No guarantee. What the word described as functionality, more functionality. So as far as if they would have made the decision after the Jacksonville game, there'd probably be a better chance to get back. But again,
what
as you
about
play
after the Commanders game? Like, it's been a week.
But again, as you play these games and then you come back, remember it's a mini bye, so the players aren't in there. Now, in the case of rehab players, there's no defined timeline to these things. I think people believe that so many players play injured, and you think, all right, originally, obviously, the thinking was he'll fight through it, build it up, get better and better, get used to playing with the cast. Maybe he can still be a part of the rotation. So clearly that by playing him, that was the hope. And then whatever they saw, maybe he got hurt a little bit more. Maybe he came in Wednesday or Tuesday, Monday more likely, and decided, all right, this is not going the way it should be going. And then you make the decision. Then you have to have the discussion. All right, do we shut him down? Do we try to get him back? Can we get him back? All that kind of stuff factors into it. So again, with the hamstring, there's different levels of hamstring. There's different levels of even pain tolerance with players. There's different level of players' ability to play with cast versus not play with cast. Some guys do, some guys don't. Some guys can figure it out, some guys can't. And then you make a decision. and their decision came as, all right, if we're going to do it, we got to do it now. This happened years ago with Jason Kelsey in training camp. They said, all right, this is the day. If we're going to get this done, we got to do it to get them ready for the regular season. And this evidently was the day where they said, all right, if we're hoping to get him back at all, we got to do it now. And there's no guarantee he's going to be back. But obviously this team feels they're going to be a playoff run and all that kind of stuff. But as far as, yeah, I mean, if they knew it was going to go in this direction, they would have done it after when he got hurt in pregame of the Jacksonville game. But they were trying to let him fight through it. And, they went as far as they could. And now it's, if they are going to get him back, they decided we got to do it now or he's not going to be able to come back.
Good stuff there. We'll see how it all shakes out. John, if Jalyx Hunt can't go, what's that rotation going to look like? Heavy Nolan Smith? Is it going to be all on Brandon Graham? Sweat, obviously, are the two main guys. But to me, it looks like Nolan Smith is going to have to step up.
Well, yeah, I mean, in theory, he hasn't been playing a lot, as I mentioned, 12, 14 reps. So that's spread out over the top three if you don't have Jalyx Hunt. But really, they've been playing too many snaps to begin with because Bryce had been playing more. So I think people forget that. Like, they were playing too much with Bryce.
Right.
Specifically Josh and Brandon.
Well, because Bryce's workload just came so far down. Maybe that was because of the cast. Maybe it's because Vic Fangio just doesn't like the guy. I don't know, but it did come down a lot.
Well, yeah, it definitely, over the past 3 games, it was due to the injury. We all questioned it. I questioned it, but it was definitely due to the injury, the past 3 games. And that kicked up the workload for Josh and Brandon. Not really as big a concern with Nolan Smith because he had not been playing a lot, and the goal is to ramp him up anyway. So from that standpoint, you should be fine short term, as they have been fine short term with Bryce playing limited snaps. But longer term, again, is Josh Sweat going to wear it down? Well, history says he is. Brandon plays at a high level, but he is 36. I mean, I'm the one who said back in the, I think he's going to play more than people realize. Because this is it.
Much, yeah.
But even it's getting to the point where I'm like, well, I didn't think it was going to be this much.
Yeah.
And then as you get into these key games, and remember, you can say this isn't key game, it's too early, blah blah blah. If you want to get the number 1 seed, these are all key games.
Yeah, especially these NFC games. This is a key game for sure.
So yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. And if Jalyx Hunt is not available, it's even a bigger problem. So again, the big day for Jalyx Hunt. Hopefully they're just managing him through the week. And then the depth in general. They're a sprained ankle away from being in disaster level on the edge.
Yes, they are. And by the way, they're relying on a 36-year-old guy to hold a lot of that down. I mean, they're playing with fire a little bit on the edge. We'll see what they end up doing. I don't know if there's anybody out there to sign or anybody, but we will see. Not really, right? I mean, we're late November now, everybody. There's not many people left on the outside.
You can get a little better probably on the practice squad, and I'm sure they'll bring somebody in at some point. But, yeah. I mean, they're probably culling over opposing teams' practice squads, trying to find somebody.
Yeah.
But as far as meaningful help, yeah, it's tough to do this time of year.
Yeah, Bobby Murphy checks in. Bobby, appreciate it, brother. He says, Graham's played more than I thought we would, but he's played well. No doubt he's played well. But, Bobby, the question would be, can he keep it up at 36? I think he can keep up the play, but can the body keep up? That's the question there. Obviously, he's been through a lot. Long career for Brandon Graham. I love him, though, man. One of the best Eagles of all time.
Yeah, by the way, Earl Thomas, speaking of Brandon, makes in his first year of eligibility, Hall of Fame cut it down to 25 semifinalists.
Yep.
Earl Thomas should make it, should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Brandon's still playing, man.
I know. Wasn't there a story from that draft that Andy wanted Earl Thomas and
No,
Howie?
no, it was more the fans wanted Earl Thomas,
Okay.
especially early, and Jason Pierre-Paul.
I don't know where I read somewhere that Andy and Howie had a minor disagreement about that. Howie wanted BG and Andy wanted Earl. I don't know if that might not be true. I don't know where I read that.
Well, I think it was mainly, and I wasn't here at the time, but that was mainly Earl turned into a very good player very early in his career, and 5-time All-Pro, whatever he turned out to be, he was very good, and he was picked, I think, 14th, and Brandon was 13th. So, the immediate, and by the way, Jason Pierre-Paul was 15th. So the immediacy, Earl and JPP were better earlier than Brandon. So fans were losing their minds that the Eagles stuck. And remember, Chip Kelly was going to cut Brandon Graham for Travis Long. So the fan base was losing their mind seeing Earl Thomas turn into the best safety in football. And Jason Pierre-Paul's a monster before the fireworks accident, dominating on that defensive front when the Giants could actually play football. They were losing their minds. And it's just, I chuckled when I saw Earl, and not about Earl being Earl belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's already going in, and Brandon's still playing.
Yeah, pretty incredible. You know who else was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer this year?
I hope not Eli Manning, but